Part 2 of the block. Part 1 down below. Finances are stable for now but will become debt-based post-D and critical if anything major goes wrong with car, house, health. Deal with that if it comes. Moving to 50% time with my boys will actually be a step back. I'd estimate time spent with them pre-D-Day to be 60-40 me. But I can now take them to mates for playdates or away to family, without having to fit into the weekly plan. But I agree, I can already see how better I am as a father in her absence and feel closer than ever to the young ones. Out for a few whiskies in central London, for International Scotch Day tomorrow. That will be a nice treat. I'm in a better mindset now. Blowing it up immediately on D-Day, for example, would have resulted, among other things, in the loss of her job, a ruined Christmas for the boys and a less than straightforward divorce settlement, but I know, from the text, that it would have only pushed them closer together. It matters not. I have considered R and know that I am better off by myself for now and someone new in the future. I have always been very emotional, but my common sense plus gut feel outweighs and win out most of the time. Hobbies always have been playing football, golf, long distance running, beer and whiskey nights with friends, going to watch football, cinema, films, researching trips abroad and providing financial advice, finding good deals for my family and mates. All of these are obviously easier now, on the days I don't have my boys. On that note, I've now had my boys 33 of the last 50 nights. This is a fair reflection of where they sit in my WW priorities at the moment. Suits me though, building a stronger bond. Saw OM and WW driving around town today. Felt like a kick in the guts. Need to detach. Waiting for seal on financial order, about 7 weeks to go, before informing all parties. Any earlier, my sons will be financially worse off and have to move out of our home. She might lose job, so financially weaker and BW might go ape crap and turn on anyone involved. Not needed. I've read all the texts, they are obsessed with each other. It hurts when I think how we might not have met if the motorway swallows me tonight. Remember I loved you always. There comes a time in your life when you know you just have to be with someone. If we are together from now until the end, the nights together won't be enough. I am finding peace within myself, but it does feel there are no consequences for cheaters, and that sits uneasy with me. I have given up spending energy on trying to understand why, but I do see how messed up the STBX must be to stop caring for a 4-year-old. Not seeing him every day, barely 40% at the moment. Instead booking dirty weekend away, nights out for dinner. Also she can spend even more time than every day at work, with her boss. I forgot, he's her soulmate. Bad choice for me. She sure was. Realistically, exposure won't be until the consent order is sealed. This is taking much longer than I had wished, so still 6 weeks away. I have the letter, copies of the texts and the timeline all ready to send though. STBX, only child, parents divorced when she was 8, dad gambler, and the mum protected her from that truth until an adult. She never got on with her mum, preferred her aunt, single, big drinker, instead, who pretty much raised her. She spoke to dad once or twice in our 17 years together, then he died April 2016 and she didn't go to funeral. I knew all this and we got together, me 21, her 24. She only had 3 serious BF before me. The dad thing is obvious too. Her boss is 5 years older at 46, bald, old-looking and very dad-like. He likely started in June. Post-pa snooping revealed she was searching for him around then, and in hindsight, she talked so highly of him around the same time. So glad the crazy cow is out of my life, but still concerned the impact on my kids. Picked them up from school today after them being at hers for last 5 nights. Both were shattered. Eldest told me in tears they didn't sleep well. They're in same room bunks at hers, separate at mine. Got confirmation today that bank will let me take on the mortgage myself. Big relief, and although it is an almighty financial commitment, it feels so important to allow stability for my 2 sons. Youngest has ear infection, so was at home with me today. Even ill, he is such a fun and clever little boy. I hope this all has minimal effect on him. LT. Then it was eldest son's parents' evening. This was the first social occasion with STBX and me since pre-Christmas. Her trashy friends were there, who I ignored. After acknowledging her presence, I ignored the STBX until it was time to speak to the teacher. X was dressed like the slapper she is, got my attention but for the wrong reasons. She tried to engage in small talk after, but I held 180, just asked her why boys are complaining they don't sleep well at hers. She suggested they were fibbing. Eldest son cried at bedtime again, referencing photo of us together, again. I told him this time, this is for the best, he is always welcome here and it will be alright. I talk a good game, just need to convince myself now. I'm, currently at least, okay with remaining in the home. I have surprisingly very few triggers from it, though I can see that I likely need to go a full year before that is confirmed. I think stability is the key here. I can see the upheaval moving causes, not just to the boys but me. That said, I am fully prepared to let go when the time is right. I don't hold emotional attachment to it, and you are right, it is too big when I am there on my own. Here is where I need to be honest. I am snooping far too much on her and it has to stop. I am using the excuse that I want to get information to avoid any bumps in the divorce, financial settlement road. Indeed, without snooping around D-Day, I would potentially still be separated and expecting R, so it did serve a purpose. But now, all it does is give me details of her dates, bonding life etc. of her and the other man. Not good but hard to not look. I guess I'd like to believe STBX life is going to be hell, but it doesn't sound like it and I have to accept it may never be. Circus, monkeys etc. I have my list of big aims and I am dipping my toe into dating. The self-esteem boost is amazing. Met with mutual friends who are over from California for a prearranged short trip. They are great family, but Link is her friend really. Had great time, went to the football. I mostly avoided X-Chat, but the female friend did tell me STBX told me you think she cheated on you. Why is that? Because she did, was my answer. Then played the I'm glad she is happy now line as I know she will see them this weekend. I guess the sad realization is I cannot be friends with this family anymore if I truly want to disconnect and move on. Such are the losses from infidelity and divorce, I guess. I so wish I could expose with all the timeline, dates, texts before history rewrite takes over further, but there is just too much to lose to do it right now. Breathe. I will get through this. Just hate the audacity of the storytelling to avoid the truth that she is really a cheater. So, on exposing the affair, should I not give a crap? If I don't care what others think, why spend time exposing the truth? She is making up lies about me to anyone who will listen, claiming I am being a jerk for not wanting to be friends because she didn't cheat. Is that not a situation that is worth giving a crap? Most here are very pro-exposure, but then most also say you shouldn't give a crap about her. Can't have it both ways, can we? Man, I truly cannot wait for all this crap to be over. I am not overly bothered about mass exposure. I have told the truth and full details to the people who I believe matter to me, are true friends. I guess I shouldn't care if any of her piece of crap friends believes I am not being friends with the STBX just because I am bitter over divorce, rather than the truth, which is I don't need or want a deceitful, lying abuser as a friend. I have shipped friends, hell, even best friends, out of my life in the past because of their lack of ability to tell truth and hold integrity. In the interests of truth-telling, it was 12 years ago, but I did have to remind myself just last night that I did cross the line with someone, but I did immediately recognize it and broke it off with the ex. I would be amazed if that is the reason why she feels entitled to do what she has done now, 12 years, a marriage and 2 kids later, but stranger things have happened. I have the exposure written. I have selected the text to share, but it does come across as a little bitter, even to me. Again, I guess I need to not care how others take the information. At least the information will be out there. I guess it is scary that STBX actually believes she is telling the truth. I know a lot of you told me this would happen, but it is still hard to comprehend. Most FB friends that matter already know the story from me. Her friends, I guess I'd like to let them know the truth, but I see that as don't really matter. Her work friends, who are not mutual, well, that would be fun, given they are still sneaking around at work as boss and direct report, without telling anyone. I think one-to-one calls with those that matter is better, and those that are worth keeping as friends. I can physically show the text to those who are interested or doubtful. Marriage is over, I don't want R. I am moving on, until someone pops up and tells me I don't understand why you can't be friends. It's not like she cheated on you. Wife knows, apparently, and, apparently, has a new man too, probably did already have one during all this. Piece of trash everywhere. So, I emailed her this afternoon saying I'd be happy to talk. She replied immediately with contact details, so I've just spent the last 2 hours on the phone with her. She had been contemplating telling me her suspicions for months, but, just like me, had too much to lose to risk it. So much information, I can't remember half of it but the main points. OMW said she knew he was obsessed with my STBX from day one she joined the work, back in April 16th, so yeah, from April. OMW also met other man at her work and he played exactly the same game with her. Other man was married when OMW met him and had already left another at the altar. Other man had an affair 6 years ago, played the same routine again, took her to all the places he is taking my STBX. OMW forgave him for sake of kids. She thinks other man and my ex had slept together in October 16th but has no firm proof. He told her they only got together late January 17th. I set her straight. He is broken about leaving his kids as they both hate him now, but the kids also blame OMW because he blames shifted and told them it was her fault. OMW and other man had a perfectly normal marriage, regular bonding, right up to end of November 16th. Other man is telling his wife to cut back on spending, yet he is spending a fortune on my ex. Told her to get into financial mediation next week and take him to the cleaners, checking every piece of spending over past 6 months, with me if she likes. He told her they didn't need it and he will make sure she is looked after. Told her what I thought of that. We are now teasing our STBX about having spoken with each other. Yes, this is a potential risk to my financial settlement, divorce, but you know what? I don't give a crap. I'm over this. Whatever will be, will be. Looking forward to my new life, be it in this house or another. Be it will 50% of the kids' time with me or more. Be it if I have to get a new job. Be it if I have to find a new path. It really is going to be alright. And most of you were right too. It's going to be living hell for the XW. An update up on the other betrayed spouse situation. OM claims I called to cause maximum damage, that I lie and my motivation is to hurt my STBX. He claimed he was no influence in divorce proceedings and that he wasn't mentioned in mediation. Reminder: STBX asked me to not tell her work, be friends with them all as part of mediation. Apparently, the date he told his wife they'd got together was only a few weeks ago. She knew it was a lie already, but I gave her my dates from texts. He then went on to tell other betrayed spouse that during my marriage I was extremely aggressive and that I am now behaving like a petulant child. He then praised her for her not acting like that and can't see why I can't be more like her about this. They are desperate to know how I found her for some reason. She didn't tell him. Today he said to her that my timing was very interesting and he'd like to know what game I'm playing. STBX friends are mixed. Some say get a hitman to teach me a lesson. She really is the biggest slag this side of Nottingham. Some say get a lawyer to warn me about my behavior, calling another female. But others say that she'd got away lightly before now and should expect me to be bitter, nasty and after revenge. What revenge? This is about morals, justice, truth, integrity. Think I've ruffled a few feathers. I'm already laughing really, but taking it a bit too personal when it results in people asking why I can't be friends with the mother of my kids, for the sake of the kids. I am not being friends with her for the sake of the kids, so they know people shouldn't do this. Well, given other betrayed spouse has already let him cheat once, I believe her when she says it's over and she's not sad at all. No way back, and she is encouraging me to be the same. But I know the guilt over his kids is massive. They hate him. That's got to be tough for a father after 15 years to hear that. Still, they both only have each other now, so it's eggs in one basket time and I'm looking forward to pancakes. Fairly quiet day today, lovely laughter with my boys at bath time. That always seemed stressful when X was around. Did speak to mother-in-law though, she's always as useless at best and came out with these things just happen sometimes. No one goes out seeking someone else when they are married. Politely told her to F off and that they knew exactly what lines they were crossing. Last time I speak to her, she did tell me that STBX aunt, who effectively brought her up, had an affair with a married man for 20 years. History repeating. Glad to be rid of that useless family. What was I thinking back in the day? I feel am I close to detachment? Well, the best I can give the ongoing divorce and the co-parenting. I care less this week about what others think too. There is being supportive to your friends and then there is utter stupidity. Most fall into the latter and that's not my problem. I took some legal advice on the work exposure. Apparently, even if the consent order is sealed, until the decree absolute is granted, a job change or loss could result in a judge revoking the financial agreement. Plus, there is the other betrayed spouse to think about. She too needs the other man to be working, to allow her to get a fair settlement. Issue is, divorce might not be until early July now, and by then, who knows what the work situation will be. It is frustrating, but I feel the decision has to be made based on the impact on my boys. Work must know, but I feel the other man is so senior and quite a controlling bully according to the OBS, so I think they will be fear for anyone to intervene. It will be obvious they are together, I'm sure. But like I say, we both need them to stay in jobs to allow the settlement to go through. I am pushing for quick divorce and can't do anything to speed it up. I have played hard but fair and am agreeing with STBX request that we move forward. She might be considering challenging me on assets, now that I've contacted OBS, but I'm okay with it. My mental health and boys are more important than PS. Going to drop my disappointment about her lying about me to others. I know the truth and my good friends do too. First date with a new friend last night. I was really nervous, much more than my previous first date. Think this was down to the fact she is extremely good looking. I have lost a huge amount of confidence and self-esteem due to the infidelity, going from a really outgoing, confident guy to what feels like a boring and timid guy who has to justify everything I say. That said, we had a couple of cocktails over 3 hours and I managed to listen way more than I talked, which was good. She is stunning, intelligent, talented, artist in spare time, independent, and very laid back. I couldn't help but feel I wasn't good enough for her. Interestingly, she brought up kids and I asked if she wanted to have children and she does. So, I sensed that she wasn't keen on a ready-made family. She knew I had kids pre-date, but rather wanted one of her own, which is totally understandable. I guess it is all good though, getting back out there, getting to see different personalities, and seeing how the dating world works these days. OMW just called me. OM has told her he is moving back to near them, so he can see his kids and for her to expect my STBX to be there too. He currently rents in same town as their work. My STBX rents in my town. This new city is a 2-hour drive from their work, my hometown, and therefore, the boys' schools. So, either one, STBX is planning a swoop to move the boys up to this location. I will fight the piece of crap every step of the way. Or two, she is going to be in my town for the week she has the boys and be 80 miles away, then commute south to her work on the week she hasn't, or 3, she is going to give up parenting them except for every other weekend. Plan to somehow work it out that way. OMW also knew OM had applied for jobs in a town 4 hours drive away from current work, my town, so 2 hours north from their planned new location. This is scary, primarily because of the potential impact on my boys, my co-parenting, but also their general thinking and decision-making. Bit of an odd week. I've tried to step back from all the drama and view this situation at a distance. On Sunday, the OBS, quite understandably given the other man was blackmailing her by saying she had to do what he said to ensure he plays financial ball, had a bit of a wobble. She actually threw a glass at him, locked him in the annex at their house, so he had to climb out of the window, and then wrote a text to his boss and threatened to send it to their work. Fortunately, she told me this and I was able to remind her that it is in our interest, that they both earn, so she backed down and things seem calm now. Given all that, I had to speak to the STBX for the first time in 3 weeks or so, as she was about to freak out. I was calm, told her I am moving on and all I want is to ensure other man is going to be a decent man around my children and for us to achieve the agreed financial clean break and divorce ASAP. Estimated date is end of May. She took it all in but still so cold and heartless, which strangely was quite comforting to me. I know I am free of that now. She did, once again, offer for me to meet other man. What are people's thoughts on that? Personally, I have no desire, but on one hand, I'd quite enjoy grilling him, but on the other, I think it is playing to their beat that everything will be okay, they are in control. Interestingly, OBS tells me that the other man came back from a work trip from USA, where he uses to take her along too, in a very reminiscing mood and gave the line, "I know I messed up and was looking for hugs," as, apparently, he was all over Christmas and New Year. She also tells me that there is a history of mental illness in his family and his mum thinks he is ill, which is why he is doing this. Given all the stories from his past and how he is acting now, both myself and the OBS suspect that he is a narcissist. Good luck with that, STBX. Last few days, I've noticed me grieving, not depressively, nor tearful, just mentally, the loss of life map, some more, so the one family unit, working as a team, keeping finances in check, all for the best possible future for my boys. All of that is in smoke, and I can accept that, but it still disappoints me, especially as my hand has been forced on the issue of only seeing my boys, at best, half of the time. I am also reading up on my need for validation in this marriage. Really good to be able to step back and see the unhealthy nature of this, something I hope I can change. I also realize I'm not ready to date. I'm resisting setting up a second date with an amazing girl because of this. It's a shame, but I don't want to mess her around. Baby steps. Oh dear, what a difficult few days. I'm stuck in grieving for what might have been the loss of one family unit. Since I had kids, this is all I focused in on for life. The boys were my life and now they are barely half of it, and this situation is nothing I'd ever consider being acceptable. What triggers it is when I have my boys in the joint calendar, used to arrange childcare to avoid communication. When I have them, it is written STBX unavailable, and I know this means she is away, staying in nice hotel and shagging the other man. I know I shouldn't care, but I can't cope. The mind movies kill me. As positive steps, I have just forced me to stop snooping at her Facebook by removing the device from the safe list, and even further, I have actually unfriended the STBX and given the number of photos of my boys on her wall. This was a very tough decision. It's 3 months tomorrow since D-Day, but today, it felt as fresh as it ever has, and I have at least 14 years of co-parenting with this piece of trash. I cannot see how I'm going to cope. Still tough today, but great to wake up with my sons here and playing so nicely in what we now call the boys' house. Great not to be tempted to look at FB, what she is doing and saying. Real positive move that, and can't believe I didn't do it earlier. She moved out in Jan, took most of her stuff, but that very day I returned, I went round every single nook and cranny and made sure every single trace of her was gone. The only thing is a box that is full of all the wedding day stuff, and both of our wedding, engagement rings, as she left them on the side the day she moved out. Still undecided what to do about all of that, but it's well out of sight, mind. I think it is in my nature to be fairly in control, not controlling, but wanting all of the information and facts before acting. So that is a change to be made, but not necessarily a bad one. It's not the affair that is getting to me, so easy to see how it happened. It's the fact someone walked away from an 85% decent marriage, family, without even blinking an eye, as if it was a decision on whether to have pizza or curry for dinner. Still, as per advice here, I've given up trying to understand. Just be nice to think people aren't that strange, but then, the stories on here show that is unrealistic. Rings are probably only worth a few $100, but nice idea to treat boys once divorce is absolute. I'm up for an emotional boot camp, but the kids are a rewarding yet draining main responsibility before I can fully embrace that. I also am a little concerned about the 4-year-old only being around his mother 50% of the time. Even if she is BSC, my gut tells me he needs to see her more until he's a couple of years older. I think I need to be kinder to myself. Life-changing event, only 3 months in. I think things are as good as they can be. I do find it a little difficult to get the balance of projecting my feelings on the boys, making sure they are comfortable sharing their emotion. But I will get there, no doubt, with a few mistakes along the way. I knew this week was going too smoothly. What can I do about this? This is strictly against what I asked for during mediation. A letter from STBX. Hi, just to let you know, this Sunday I am taking the boys on the Steam Miniature Railway. They've been excited about it for weeks, but it doesn't open until this weekend. Hopefully they won't love it so much they demand to go every time they come to stay. I would like to invite OM to join us on the train, to introduce the boys to him. As it would be away from the house, for a limited period of time and while doing a specific activity, I thought it could be a good introduction for them and more acceptable for you. My thoughts are that meeting where something else, like the train journey, is the focus makes it easier all round, and helps put a face to the name for the boys. Please let me know if you're okay with this. Well, I responded by saying no, it's not okay, reminded her of our agreement, told her this is about what is best for my boys, not us. Also mentioned I had no plans to introduce anyone, and that what I know about other man from OMW, he isn't suitable to meet then until after she is a divorced woman. Mentioned a small walk is more appropriate than a day out, anyway. She replied just saying fine, I wanted to revisit, I understand where you are, her stock answer for everything, and she will stick to our agreement. Subplot, because I texted the OMW about this, she offered up him to see his kids on Sunday, which he jumped at, so in the end he couldn't have come to see mine anyway. Good, unified teamwork. We'll see STBX at my son's karate grading in a few hours, just going to blank her. She got me so angry yesterday but I won't show it. Just another bump in the road to freedom, I guess. So, sat opposite side of the hall at my son's karate grading. Boys ran back and forth to me. X looked haggard and very, very stressed. I was cheerful and supportive of my amazing son. At end she tried to engage me in small talk, then remarking how she liked my new shoes. I nodded back to her, hugged sons and left. Drove to a mate's with volume on max, smiling and singing at top of my voice. Had a low Sunday evening, went on my own, just disappointment on how life turned out so far and for my boys, but managed to regain positivity about the future. However, today I signed up for some CBT sessions. I want to be in tip-top condition for my sons, and any potential future GF, and see no harm in utilizing what I can right now. OMW texted tonight, here is what she forwarded to her from the OM after he spent rare day with his kids. He is also trying to get his wife to tell his kids that they must meet my STBX. They don't want to. So, ladies and gentlemen, an insight into the world of the WS. For clarity, this is a text from OM to his wife. Hi, I know it's all too late, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. Spending the day here has given me just a tiny insight into the nightmare that you've had to deal with, compounded by my selfish and unforgivable behavior. I'm so sorry on so many fronts. I can't quite believe what I've done to the children, or you, and I hope that they may be able to forgive me in time. I can't really begin to imagine how difficult it's been, and I understand totally why you have reacted to me as you have. It's all too little too late, I know, but I truly am sorry. I hope you're enjoying your time away. Bye and see you tomorrow. I've identified a strange trigger today. Despite the fact that the other man is her boss, so they see each other every day, when I pick up my boys I know it frees her to go and continue her affair without the chains of being a mother. That gets me angry. The fact she can just hand over S7 and S4 to me, go off and have fun with her bald old boss makes me mad. As you know, I've stopped pain shopping by no longer FB snooping, so I don't want to know what they are doing, but it still riles me. I've also noticed me getting a little impatient with S4, as he tends to call me mummy by accident a lot and often asks when he is going back to stay with her. He is so young, so clearly know I need to give him plenty of understanding at this uncertain time, but I do sometimes project that disappointment onto him by getting snappy. This is probably going to split opinion, but given she is, after all, the mother of my young kids, it realistically needs to function at some level for the next 10 years, until they decide where they want to live. Is there any benefit to sitting back and letting it all go to crap? I mean, I know what the OM is really like, a guy who abuses his position to prey on women. 5 known cases from his ex, likely many, many more. Okay, the STBX messed up too, she is a cheat, but she isn't anywhere near his level of serial cheating. She just fell for his grooming. She doesn't realize this, she sees him as a soulmate. Doesn't she deserve to know? She will have a breakdown when he cheats on her, and, as the mother of my boys, I fear for her sanity and the impact on the boys when they are with her. Even if she stays with him and doesn't discover his cheating, he will still be around my boys, bringing them up with a lack of morals and teaching them being a cheating rat pays. Okay, some will say, not my monkeys. But it is. This is the development of my sons at risk here. I can see that it is controlling, and that is something I am more than willing to work on. The fine line between caring and controlling. I find it difficult. I think my controlling nature started when I became dad, lots of responsibility. And the boys have to do what they are told to stay alive. My mom is seen as a very caring person, always putting others first, but I was aware, from my teens, that she was in fact controlling, and so I distanced myself from her, and we had a tough relationship until after I moved out properly, in my early 20s. I know the STBX will just see it all as lies. After all this, the man who tells her being with you for the next 50 years wouldn't be long enough, and she laps it up. As the other man said before to his wife, they are convinced I am just out to cause maximum damage to them. I guess it is time to give up, give in to them. If she thinks him meeting the kids is a good thing, then who am I to disagree? Let them eat cake. Well, court order pronounced so. Aside from sealing financial consent order, I am potentially 6 weeks and a day away from absolute divorce. That would be exactly 5 months since D-Day. Of course, as petitioner, that is now in my hands and can only be triggered by the STBX in 22 weeks' time. Good to be in control, and I will choose when the time is right to apply for absolute. The other man just texted me. I told STBX a couple of weeks ago when she tried to force him to meet my boys that any attempt from her to change the verbal mediation agreement we had about him not being involved until after divorce would result in me breaking my side of the agreement, namely telling their work about their affair. So, when my boys told me yesterday that he brought his kids' old toys to the house for them to play with, he wasn't there, so still hasn't met them. I lost it with X and told her that was it. She is forcing his presence on them, and I was telling her work HR she pleaded with me not to, and I'm guessing that got him rattled too. He says, the toy gesture wasn't malicious, but perhaps in hindsight not very thoughtful in the wider context. Assuming that you will consider it at the appropriate juncture, I am content that I do not meet your children until you give your approval. It would be useful to meet to chat. Don't worry, I'm not replying and I won't be meeting him or giving my approval. The OMW has offered to speak to my STBX to tell her what her husband is really like, but as discussed here in depth, I agree, it won't change a thing. They are in fantasy land. You don't realize how different things are with him. My comment, part 3 ending after in a few hours. We will see what happens to both sides in the end, and will OP finally move on from this mess.